All right, Beyond the Gates fans. Now, this video, I didn't rush to get it out. Yes, I know it is a day late, technically two, but this is before episode 62 drops. But it wasn't just because of the holiday weekend. You know, it's been that time of the year where, number one, a lot of yard work. My mom went to the farmer's thing and got a bunch of flowers, so it's been planting around here. Then pouring rain on top of that. Then I've been on the eBay grind, you know, getting this money up because prices for stuff have been going up and I need the money. So I've been focusing on the eBay store more than YouTube lately. And I did see online that people didn't really care for this episode too much because it felt kind of fillerish, and I don't even have half a page of notes, so I don't expect this this review to be super long. But hey, I just finished watching episode 60 and 61. I'll do separate videos. I might as well keep it, you know, separate. And we'll go from there. So episode 60, ironically enough, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't the worst episode ever. It was just kind of meh. So I only have like 5 different things to talk about. So we go to Uptown and Kat and Chelsea are talking about their design plans. And honestly, I think this is the first time we've gotten any reference to their purse line and, you know, fashion line in quite some time. The last time I even vaguely remember this being brought up was when Chelsea finally came around to asking her mom to be like the marketing manager for their company, and she declined because she has her own thing going on with Pamela. So it was good just to kind of talk about this for the first time in quite a while. And in the midst of this, that's when Chelsea opens up about her heartbreak in regards to Allison and, you know, dealing with the fact that she wasn't anything more than a bit extra or spice to their relationship as opposed to something else. Now, I did find it interesting how Kat was extremely supportive of Chelsea, given the fact that, well, they both have fathers who cheated on their wives, or, you know, when it comes to Chelsea and Kat, both of their moms got cheated on. Yet Kat was supportive of Chelsea in her, you know, mission, if you will, to get emotionally attached to the wife of someone who is already married. I just feel like that's a bit off to me. And no, it has nothing to do with the whole, bisexual, curious and whatnot. It's just like the morality of it. I mean, I don't know. But that aside, Kat was supportive of Chelsea. But then when Kat mentions the whole thing about Tamas, how things are kind of weird due to the whole Eva situation, Chelsea automatically agrees with Tamas in the fact that, you know, well, hey, regardless, she is your half sister and whatnot. Yeah, you can't deny the fact that Eva is Kat's half sister. There's nothing that can be done about that aside from, one, getting another DNA test just to make absolutely sure this is true, and two, you know, just coming to grips with the fact that, yeah, your father betrayed your mom. But the worst part is, everybody, and Kat brings this up, and spoiler alert, Tamas shows up eventually, but I don't get why everybody is treating Kat like she's the villain. In the sense of, hey, I was right. Nobody believed me. My own parents sided with Kat. With Eva. Kat's parents sided with Eva. And when the truth came out, I never once said I told you so. I was mad at my dad and I comforted my mom. Yet now I have a smoking, you know, Eva still has the smoking gun in her hand, and now I can try to pin this Laura thing on her. However, while I don't like the fact that people are like, Kat, just get over it, except, you know, Eva. What I don't like about how Kat is handling this, and I'm in agreement with Tamas here, is the fact that Tamas kind of feels like he's, on the back burner, because it seems like Kat is spending way more time trying to pin a crime and expose Eva than getting to know him. And when you really think about it, that is kind of true. I mean, Kat has put more time and energy trying to, quote unquote, know everything there is to know about Eva, yet the guy that she's, apparently into, she barely knows anything about him. So eventually when Tamas shows up, Chelsea leaves and tells her to play nice. So that's when he sits down and they get to talking about it. And she asks him, questions, because apparently he doesn't really mess around with social media. So he mentions how he exercises, salsa dancing, and we get a little bit of insight into why he's taken a quote unquote interest in Eva. And that's the fact that he's like a, like a big brother, father figure to a little boy that's less fortunate and whatnot. And that's why he's sort of sympathetic to Eva's situation, not just because of the kid thing, but also because of his own relationship with his father. So it's almost like Tamas is low-key saying, don't think there's anything going on between me and Eva. Just know that there's a specific reason why I do feel kind of sorry for her. And while I do see that angle, you can't deny that he does get a bit too touchy-feely with her, even if it is just like holding her hand and whatnot. And even though he is technically accurate when saying he and Kat are not in a relationship, it's almost like you're dancing. He hasn't crossed the line, but he's definitely salsa dancing on the line. And then they kiss, and Kat pretty much says that she's going to put more effort into trying to get to know him and whatnot. But I feel like when she's on the cusp of doing so, that's when the other shoe drops. And like the moment Kat even gets a little whiff of evidence that could be used against Eva, she just drops everything and runs off with it. Now, from there, actually, when you think about it, that actually makes sense when you consider who her brother is. And Martin is very evasive when it comes to Smitty. And at the drop of a hat, whenever he gets a chance to avoid a conversation, what does he do? Get on that phone and run off, saying it has something to do with work. That's the same thing Kat does, except it's Eva. Now, speaking of Martin and Smitty, they're basically at the diner the entire episode. And I literally have one sentence that sums up the entire scene. Martin wants to know why Smitty is all bent out of shape. Smitty reveals that, hey, Bill summoned me. What's the deal? What kind of dirt does he have on you? Some sort of secret. And Martin simply brushes it off by saying that Bill is trying to gaslight him and don't worry about it. That's literally it. And over at the house, the kids, or the teens, if you will, are getting ready for a study thing where Jessica actually comes over to get tutoring from Terrell, and Samantha and her chat for a bit because Jessica actually does like her brother and just wants advice. And simply put, she's like, look, just go for it. My brother, is slow in terms of making a move. So unless you don't want to be an old cat lady waiting for him to do it, do it. So while they're studying, she talks about how there's a paradox equation about, the unstoppable force meets an immovable object and yada, 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 and then they kiss. And I love how Samantha comes in, but then turns around. That was pretty funny. Okay, then we go over to the country club. I think it's some sort of gala showing up, or excuse me, a gala about to happen. And they actually bumped into Tamas as he was leaving to go to Uptown. And he basically gets the task from Bill. Hey, give me the updates on that meeting you had. Remember how those 3 women who were trying to sue the firm got hired back, and they have a committee, and Tamas is part of that committee. Basically, he's the inside man. And he goes, and Haley's like, oh, why are you so hard on him? Hey, he's a partner in the making. And I just want to know every single move that these women make. Simple as that. So they go inside, and I don't know, Haley is just, she's so whiny, man. Yeah, she's nice to look at, but dang, give her something. But, she's just going on and on about the whole thing about oh, the second wife never gets as much as the first wife. Like, I never have all of your attention. You're always called away to work, or before you know it, your ex-wife or one of your ex-family members show up. And I'm just thinking, like, you're sitting in the Dupree establishment. So if one of the Duprees show up at this gala, why would you be bent out of shape? This is the same thing as when Bill and Haley went to the country club for that mac and cheese, and then that's when they saw Pamela and Danny kissing. It's kind of the same thing. But in this case, she's just ranting about everything from I only got like the 30% honeymoon, the 20% wedding, and yada, yada, yada. And then out of nowhere, she's like, I'm pregnant. Wait, what? See, there you go. It's like your reaction to it. And I'm thinking to myself, Haley, hey, I've never been a father and whatnot, but, or a girl telling me she's pregnant, but, I'd imagine it would be a bit more romantic than this, I guess, because she was there ranting and raving for like 15 minutes and Bill is just trying to appease her, and then out of nowhere, we're pregnant. Wait, what? Yeah, why wouldn't you expect his reaction to be that way? Because you literally caught him completely off guard. It makes zero sense. So, I don't know. If you ask me, Haley ruined her own baby announcement. Seriously. Makes no sense. So in the midst of this announcement, Chelsea comes in. She's like, oh, come on. I did like how she took a jab at Haley, saying that, oh, wow, if you thought you're the outcast now, wait until that little kid is born, then you're really going to be on the outskirts of town. And that's pretty much it for there. And trust and believe, I saw episode 61. It goes deeper than this. And then the final scene to talk about is back at the Vernon and Anita establishment, or humble abode, where Anita and Tracy, okay, I felt for Vernon in this scene. Donald Glover, what's that show called? Is it Community? I forgot. I never watched it, but I know that gif where he comes into like the apartment or whatever with like a stack of pizzas in his hands, and then he's smiling, but then he realizes like, oh wow, because the whole place is on fire and everything. That's essentially what's going on here. Vernon comes in. All right, ladies, I came with goods from the diner. The last chocolate cake. Last chocolate pie, amongst other things. And oh, did I just walk in on something? And essentially, it's on. Tracy is just going in on Anita about, don't sell me on your quote unquote sacrifices and this, that, and the third. This just some BS. And I like how Anita's like, you know what? Get the F out of my house. She doesn't essentially say that, but, she said in the classy way of, I will happily pay for your train ticket back to where the hell you came from, because you're not going to come in my home disrespecting me, making me feel guilty about the choices I made to make it to where I am. I ain't going to hold you. I would have the same attitude. Now, that's when Tracy's like, oh, there you go again. The moment you run into some controversy or a confrontation, you just want to dismiss it. Let's talk for real. Well, I'm like, well, Tracy, you got to admit, you kind of just sucker punched Anita in terms of acting all nice, but the moment Vernon leaves, that's when your true colors show. Come on now. So they pretty much just hash it out where they talk about Anita's ruthlessness. Apparently, what's his name, Dante Green, was the person that convinced her to go solo. And she apologizes. Now, from there, Tracy does say that, you know what, I'm in, but only if Sharon is in. So, essentially, hey, I'm the peacemaker, right? So, I'll go home, and I'll contact Sharon, and I'll see what I can do. And if she's in, I'm in. So, after she leaves, I think she was upstairs freshening up, and Anita said, she's going back. So, Vernon and Anita have a moment where Anita just kind of breaks down talking about how, Vernon, you really didn't know the real Anita Williams before we got together. I was ruthless, cutthroat, the things I did in order to make it where I am now, and the bridges I burned, the people I left, just flailing in my wake. It hurts. Just hold me. And, Vernon is just letting her know that everything's going to work out. And I did find it interesting. I know it might be weird to compare the two, but it's strange in its own twisted way, Anita did what Ted did. Hear me out. Not necessarily an affair that we know of, but think about it this way. Ted messed up over 20 years ago. And he was in a situation with Nicole where he felt he wasn't getting as much as he was giving to her. And that's why he stepped out of the marriage. Now, Anita wanted to get out of a situation where she just could completely forget her past and, make it up in the world, or, take a step or two up in the world. And the thing about it is, Ted's mistakes have finally come back to haunt him 20 plus years later, damaging Dana and leaving a daughter without her father. Anita, on the other hand, we don't know exactly what happened, but you got to think about how her leaving the group when she did messed up the lives of Sharon and Tracy. Because, it's an age-old story, and I think I mentioned this in another episode review about, like, Behind the Music or Unsung or any of these other music documentary series where a group that's at the top of the charts, they're on top of the world, money is quote-unquote coming in. Because, look, how many times have we heard the age-old stories of a TLC or a New Edition where they sign a bad contract and yeah, they get a little piece of change, but it's peanuts compared to the money they're generating for the record label. But then as soon as one or more of the group members opt to leave and go solo, they blow up while the group fizzles out. And then, riding in limos turns into riding on the bus. Living in a big house turns into, okay, I got to sell my house and downscale. So it's one of those situations where even though Anita left and bettered herself, she basically sidelined her girls and ruined their, livelihoods. And I get it. All groups don't stay together. I get that. But it's one thing to give foresight to a group, like saying, hey, guys, I'll do like one more album and then I'm going solo, versus just a random, a fight in the dressing room backstage. And then a person quits, and the next thing you know, you're dropped from the label. So, yeah, Anita, hey, people in glass houses, right? So, essentially, Anita has been a different person since then. And that's the only person that Vernon knows. Whereas Ted, well, he messed up, but then he's made up for that ever since then. He carries that pain. And that's why he confided in Kat, saying, look, the Ted Richardson you knew, your father, this is who I am. This is the only Ted you knew. Just please don't condemn me for a mistake I made before you even existed. So, yeah, Anita, how you like them apples? But yeah, I really can't wait. I think they even cast the actress who's going to play Sharon. So this should be interesting. But with that being said, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.